Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Samantha Josephson? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, consider supporting me on Patreon, and check out my podcast on YouTube, Bella Grande Media. I will put the relevant links for those items in the description for this video. So first I'll look at the background in this case. It's quite brief. I'll move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Starting with the background, this case takes place in South Carolina in 2019. At this time, Samantha Josephson, a political science major at the University of South Carolina, was 21 years old. She was a senior and would have graduated that year. She planned on attending Drexel University School of Law, where she had earned a full scholarship. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. Late on March 28, 2019, Josephson was spending some time with friends in downtown Columbia, South Carolina. At about 2 a.m., now on March 29, she ordered an Uber. A 2017 Chevy Impala, driven by a man named Nathaniel Rowan, pulled up into a parking space alongside where Josephson was standing. She climbed into the vehicle believing it was the Uber she had ordered, but it was not. Rowan activated the child safety locks so that the doors could not be unlocked from the inside. At some point, he stabbed Josephson 120 times. She died about 10 to 20 minutes later. Rowan then drove about 65 miles to the town of New Zion and dumped her body in a field. Josephson's roommates reported her missing. Individuals who were hunting turkeys came across her body in a field at about 4 p.m. The police pulled Nathaniel Rowan over in the 5 Points area near where the kidnapping took place. He exited the vehicle and ran from the police. On March 30, at 3 p.m., the police caught up with him and he was arrested. Rowan was charged with murder, kidnapping, and the possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. Nathaniel Rowan's trial would begin on July 20, 2021. In addition to the substantial physical evidence, which I'll talk about in the analysis, the prosecution called 31 witnesses. The defense called 0 witnesses. Rowan did not testify in his defense. The jury would find Rowan guilty on July 27, 2021, after deliberating for just over 2 hours. Rowan was sentenced to life in prison immediately after his conviction. The judge said that it was the most severe murder he had ever seen. Now moving to my analysis. Nathaniel Rowan maintains his innocence. Was he actually guilty? Let's look at the evidence both for and against the idea of guilt, starting with the inculpatory evidence. Even though Rowan's defense said that he did not commit the murder, they admitted he was driving the Chevy Impala that picked up Samantha Josephson. In that vehicle, the police found a number of items of interest, including a large amount of blood belonging to Josephson, her phone, as well as window cleaner, cleaning wipes, and bleach. The victim's DNA was found under Rowan's fingernails. After searching the garbage outside the residence of Rowan's girlfriend, Maria Howard, the police found a multi-tool, a sock, a bandana, and a sheet that had Josephson's blood on them. Howard stated that she saw blood in the back of Rowan's car and saw a bloody sheet. She saw Rowan use bleach to clean the vehicle and a multi-tool. She said that her visor for work was missing. When she asked Rowan where it was, he said it's in the country with blood on it. When she inquired as to why, he told her to mind her own business. The multi-tool that was found contained knife blades. A forensic pathologist noted that the bizarre parallel knife wounds on Josephson's body were consistent with a multi-tool that had 2 blades extended. Data from Rowan's cell phone indicated he was in the 5 Points area around the time that Josephson disappeared, and we see then the phone travels to where the body was found. Now, Josephson's phone was on for part of that time, and her phone and Rowan's phone traveled together part of that way. Something happened to her phone at that point. It was either turned off or the battery died. Video from the 5 Points area corroborated the cell phone data. It showed Rowan's vehicle driving around for about 10 minutes before pulling next to Josephson. The cell phone data also showed that the phone stopped in Sumter at about 5:45 a.m. A man matching Rowan's description tried to unsuccessfully withdraw money using Josephson's ATM card at a bank in Sumter. The same person tried to withdraw money from her account in Columbia not long after this. The owner of a phone repair store in Columbia identified Nathaniel Rowland as the person who tried to sell him a cell phone belonging to Samantha Josephson on the morning of March 29. Now looking at the exculpatory evidence, Rowland didn't have any visible signs of being in a fight, even though it was clear that Josephson had vigorously resisted the attack. His DNA was not found on her body. There was DNA from Rowland's car that belonged to neither Josephson nor Rowland. That's pretty much it for exculpatory evidence. As I mentioned, the defense called no witnesses. They didn't even call character witnesses, even though several family members of Rowland were at the trial. This was a case where the defense really didn't have to rest at the end, as it was resting the whole time. To be fair, I don't know what else they could have done. Which leads me back to that question, was Nathaniel Rowland guilty? I think he was guilty in reality, and I think he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. As far as a case that went to trial, it's hard to think of a more lopsided case in favor of the prosecution. To use an analogy from golf, the prosecution had to make a 2-inch putt to get a conviction, whereas to get an acquittal, the defense had to make a hole-in-one, except the tee was located in South Carolina and the hole was on the moon. Moving on to other questions, was Nathaniel Rowland's crime premeditated? What was his motive? Not much is known about Rowland. He lived in Columbia and attended East Clarendon High School at one time. His work history included FedEx and a company called Capital Waste Services. He did not know Samantha Josephson. They had never met. I think he was looking to commit a robbery and willing to commit a murder. I don't think he necessarily planned on committing the murder, considering he did use an unusual weapon, a multi-tool. I think he saw an opportunity in the form of Josephson waiting for her rideshare vehicle. He was roaming around that area, making U-turns, driving all around in the parking lots. He sees Samantha Josephson. He turns his vehicle into a parking space for people with disabilities. This is where she was standing, right next to that parking space. He doesn't have a permit to park there, and he doesn't pull all the way into the space. He actually hits the curb trying to get his car into the space. Josephson gets in, Rowland backs up, and drives away. It may have been his intent to rob her and not kill her, but something went wrong, or it may have been he was planning on killing her the entire time. Another question in this case is, why did Rowland dump everything at Maria Howard's home? The amount of physical evidence discovered there was substantial and almost certainly contributed to his conviction. Evidently, Rowland believed that nothing could connect him to Maria Howard, which is interesting considering there was an envelope in his glove box that featured her address. I wonder if Rowland was inspired to commit his crime by some of his associates. We know that he allegedly sold items to a pawn shop that were stolen during the course of another kidnapping in Columbia. A woman was at a traffic light on October 19, 2018, when 2 men carjacked her. They beat her, forced her to drive to an ATM to withdraw money, and then drove to her residence where they stole additional items, including a PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 4 was one of the items that Rowland sold to the pawn shop. This may have been a situation where Rowland was ramping up his criminal behavior. He was learning from other criminals. He was moving toward increasingly dangerous activity. This case led to changes in legislation around ride-sharing safety. For example, there were laws passed in South Carolina and North Carolina making it illegal to impersonate a rideshare driver. This kind of makes me wonder if it should be legal to impersonate anybody. I could see a situation where the police are about to arrest a man for impersonating a rideshare driver, and the guy says, "I'm not impersonating a rideshare driver, I'm impersonating a pizza delivery person." The police are like, "Oh, okay, then go about your business." I think the one lesson learned in this case is that healthy skepticism is necessary to remain safe. The rideshare industry has developed very quickly. It's not well regulated, yet many people fully trust the system. Another lesson here is that some murderers live in a fantasy world as far as their ability to get away with a crime. Nathaniel Rowland could not have increased his chances of being convicted if he confessed and video recorded the entire murder. He didn't leave room for reasonable doubt. He didn't leave room for any doubt. In court, he said that he wished the state did more research to find the real killer. Yet more research would only lead to more evidence that he's guilty. The threat of life in prison, or any punishment for that matter, is not effective if an offender believes they will never be arrested or they'll never be convicted. I think this is one of the reasons that people commit crimes that are associated with massive penalties. They have convinced themselves the penalty will never be realized. Those are my thoughts on the case of Samantha Josephson. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.